MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the conferences, 5 all the way up to number 1 in the Power 5 as we look at the non-conference games through the first 4 weeks of the season and compare the conferences. All right. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe if you love college football. And, of course, we provide the most insightful discussion, debate, and analysis you will find online. All right, let's start with the top 5 conferences in college football. Here's the Power 5 rankings. And wow, the mighty have certainly fallen. This was the best conference in 2016, and certainly with a postseason that included a national championship, major bowl victories, and a 10-3 postseason. But since then, the ACC has fallen on hard times. It's right now Clemson and everyone else. Right now, the ACC has basically just collected a bunch of Group of 5 and FCS wins. The ACC I'm ranking as the 5th or the worst Power 5 conference. 25-10 out of conference. That's the record, 25-10. That sounds good, but consider 3-8 against the other 4 major conferences. Included in that, a lot of embarrassing losses, a lot of narrow escapes, scary outcomes against lesser teams, and really no big wins. The biggest win for the ACC right now is Clemson going to Texas A&M and beating a decent Texas A&M team, 28-26, surviving a 2-point conversion that failed. And so Clemson, the number 2 team in the nation right now, according to most of the major services, I've got them at number 7, barely beats Texas A&M, a team that turned around last week and lost to Alabama by 22 points. So more embarrassment for the ACC last weekend as Boston College, a team that was ranked for the first time in 10 years, went to Purdue, who was 0-3 and lost by 17 points. Wake Forest, no, we did not expect them to beat Notre Dame. They were a touchdown underdog, but we expected it to be close. And Wake Forest was routed by 29 points against Notre Dame as the Irish scored their most points since 2003 on the road. And Virginia Tech, this is the embarrassment of the college football season. Virginia Tech, which we gave some recognition to in week 1 for throttling Florida State. Now we know how bad the Seminoles are. Virginia Tech lost by 2 touchdowns and gave up 49 points to Old Dominion. How bad is ODU? Old Dominion lost to Liberty by 52 points. The ACC is the 5th conference right now. And what is left in the 2018 college football season to change these rankings, because most of the conferences are going to be playing in silos the rest of the season? Well, you've got the games against Notre Dame, of course, in which the ACC has plenty of those. And then also Stanford and USC will be playing Notre Dame, most notably. The BYU games out of conference as well. Then the ACC against the SEC on the last game of the season right after Thanksgiving. Okay, the ACC's at number 5. Number 4 is the Pac-12. The Pac-12 right now, 22-10 overall against the rest of the non-conference schedules. That includes Group of 5 and FCS. And 4-5 against the other 4 conferences. 4-5 doesn't sound too bad. They've lost the marquee games, though. Washington losing to Auburn, although it was a very, very tough contest. USC getting outclassed at Texas doesn't help. And Arizona with a loss against Houston, not a Power 5 game, but Arizona losing 38-0 third quarter to Houston before they tacked on some meaningless points. UCLA has really weighted down the Pac-12. And Stanford with a nice win against San Diego State, but not a whole lot there for the Pac-12 at 4-5 against the Power 5. If anything, Cal has served its conference very well by defeating North Carolina and BYU. So the Pac-12 we have at number 4. At number 3 this week is the Big 12. The Big 12's latest results coming off last weekend, Iowa State with a lackluster win against Akron, 26-13, but unlike Northwestern, at least Iowa State did beat the Akron Zips and Oklahoma Army. This could have topped Virginia Tech as the most embarrassing loss because of Oklahoma's status in the top 10, but narrowly defeating Army, escaping in overtime 31 on a 31-yard field goal that they missed, and then they finally defeated Army in overtime at home. So big wins for the Big 12 here. Oklahoma State beat Boise. Texas, of course, again with a big victory over USC. TCU loses to Ohio State. No shame there. Texas looks good again against USC, but they fall to Maryland. So the Big 12 right now, the number 3 rated conference at 21-7 out of conference. That includes 5-6 against the rest of the Power 5. All right, in a precarious spot at number 2 is the Big Ten. Many people thought that the Big Ten was the best conference in college football entering 2018, and I've got the Big Ten at number 2. And again, that's a shaky number 2. There's a lot of movement here between 2 and 5. But right now, I think the Big Ten is, although a close number 2, I think it's a decided, clear-cut number 2, coming off a nice weekend in regards to Purdue going out as a team that's 0-3, beating a ranked ACC team in Boston College and winning by 17 points in that game. Rutgers is an embarrassment. They've lost to Kansas by 41 points. Then they lost to Buffalo out of the MAC 42-13 last weekend. So forget Rutgers. They're weighing down the Big Ten, as are a number of teams. Right now, the Big Ten at 26-13, 7-7 against the Power 5. The big victory, Ohio State defeated TCU. The other ones, not so much. Penn State decidedly over Pitt. Northwestern lost its game against Duke. The mixed results of the Big Ten, but much better than the other conferences right now at 26-13, 7-7 Power 5. And then the King of the Hill. This has been the result of college football for quite some time, although it was debatable. It was an argument from about 2013 up until last season that the SEC is the best conference in college football. But right now, I don't think it's even close based on the results on the field. The SEC has won all the big matchups. LSU, Miami, Alabama, Louisville, Ole Miss, Texas Tech. Mississippi State went to Kansas State and won that game. And although Kansas State doesn't look too good, the Bulldogs won that by 3 touchdowns. You've got victories by the Auburn Tigers over Washington, maybe the most impressive in regards to defeating a possible playoff team in Washington. So the SEC has stood up against the challenges outside the conference and stood up rather well. Vanderbilt, despite a loss, looking good at Notre Dame. Likewise, Texas A&M at home against Clemson, only losing by 2 points as a team that you would consider the 7th or 8th best team in the SEC, almost beating one of the best teams in the country in Clemson. Ditto Vandy at Notre Dame. So it's 30-5 non-conference for the SEC, and really it's Arkansas that's weighting down this league right now. 6-3 against Power 5 competition. The SEC has played better than anyone else. So again, the rankings look like this. The ACC at number 5, the Pac-12 at number 4, the Big 12 is number 3, the Big 10 at number 2, the SEC at number 1. That's Mark Rogers TV's college football rankings for Week 4. Would love to hear from you. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Please, to support Mark Rogers TV, grab one of the Amazon links. You don't have to buy the products, just to enter the site using one of the links. Do your shopping at will. Just use one of the links. And, of course, subscribe to our newsletter, The Voice of College Football. Just send your email address to mine at markrogerstv@gmail.com, and we'll get you set with the next newsletter that we will send next Monday. And if you like any back copies, we can send those to you as well. Thanks for joining Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We will see you next time.